What I'm going to be doing is an episode and a series with some NFL teams. If you want me to do a series on your team, please feel free to comment, message me. Make sure to follow me on YouTube, Facebook, Rumblycheetah 29 Gaming. Okay, we just wanted to get to know all these little draft picks, talk to you guys. Being a wide receivers coach, you know I love football. It's one of the things that I spent some good time doing. So hopefully you enjoy this and you get to learn a little bit more about the people on the team. If you are a Panthers fan, awesome. You know me. I think we had a pretty dang good draft. All right, so J.C. Horn. J.C. Horn is number one corner coming out of the draft. Patrick Surtain, obviously, everybody knows him. He went to Bama. He plays SEC. Cool. But J.C. Horn also played in the SEC, and he was a pretty physical guy. And I'm glad Carolina chose him. Stuck to the hometown. He's about 6'1", 205 pounds. Obviously plays corner. He's out of Georgia. Okay, if you guys know that Georgia is almost like a crazy football player paradise, right? They get a lot of good players that come out of that place. He ended up getting a scholarship to play at South Carolina. These NFL grades, so when you see these grades that I'm going to be posting, they're from 5 to 8, 8 being the premier athlete that ever lived, right? And then you got about 6.4, 6.5-ish that have a potential boom or bust. But a lot of good things come out of these things, and how they get their grades is actually over here. I'll get back to that in a second. Okay, so the perfect prospect, perennial Pro Bowl talent, yeah. So about 6.5 is where a year one quality starter coming out into the league should be. And he's at a 6.46, so he's almost there. He is projected to be our number one corner on the depth chart, paired alongside Donte Jackson. We just signed A.J. Bouye. But J.C. Horn, just a couple things that I noticed when I was watching film, and I will get to the film here in a second. But he's good at man coverage. That's his dominant thing. He wants to be up there. He wants to be in your face. He's a very physical guy. He's very patient. He doesn't lurch. He doesn't really, reach when you're playing that DB job. As soon as you reach and that wide out just slaps you, man, you already beat. And he's very patient with his hands, and he's not afraid to make contact with anybody, running backs, tight ends, fullbacks, quarterbacks. Obviously, when somebody comes his way and he knows it's a run, he is putting a smackdown on them. So good nose for the football. He's also the son of a former NFL player, Joe Horn. He used to play for the Saints as wide out. I'm sure that his dad was always lining up in the backyard being like, hey, guard me. Been there, you've had experience, a lot of things that come into play with that sort of mindset. I'm the best. I want to go play like the best. So he's got a lot of experience with that. Another couple things about J.C. Horn is he plays the hands very well. So when the ball's in the air, you want the DB, right, to not ever look really back at the quarterback unless you know the ball basically in the air just based on the receiver and how he's running the route. You want to just focus on those hands whenever you're going to make the play. Wide receiver goes up and to catch it, and he does a really good job of getting his hand in between, going and make those big plays like that, separating the receiver from the football, and that's what a premier corner does. So I'm excited to see what J.C. Horn does for the Panthers. He's got great closing speed. There's a couple times where you'll see that he is actually beat or he trips and falls, but his recovery is really good. That dude's going to have to guard Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, those types of guys in the NFC South. We got some big-bodied receivers, and obviously other teams do too, but we play these guys twice a year, and so it's going to be key for him to get those matchups along with Deonte Jackson, A.J. Bouye, and it's always good to have Jeremy Chin in the backfield. Having confidence in the back line while you're guarding those big-time receivers is always good. person I'm going to talk about, Terrace Marshall Jr. out of LSU. He's 6'2", 205 pounds, wide receiver. Originally from Louisiana, and then he ended up getting a full ride scholarship to LSU, so that's awesome. No state hometown. He's got some inconsistency of catching the ball. He's very familiar with Joe Brady's playbook because he played with Joe Burrow, Brady at the collegiate level for a while. He's out there. He could be a reliable receiver for us. We just lost Curtis Samuel, so what we have now is Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. We signed David Moore from Seattle, and we had a couple other guys like Keith Kirkwood that he's going to be in the room. He's going to give us some competition, some good looks. The NFL grade that he received is a 6.34. Again, he's pretty far up there, right? He played in a good SEC. He's over there competing on a week-to-week basis. He's a big-bodied slot. He had, like I said, inconsistent hands, which didn't really impress me much. You know, as a receiver, your number one job is to catch the ball. Preach to my guys, hey, make that quarterback look good, right? It's your job to make him look good. He's going to get all the fame and publicity, but then they're going to start wondering, hey, who's he throwing to? And so hopefully he can be that person. He has a bunch of potential when he has the ball in his hands. He flashes his athletic ability. He's very physical. He's not afraid to go over the middle. He has most of his success underneath 10 yards. So you'll see him running the underneath. You'll see him running sit routes, curls, everything like that. You're going to see this guy probably running. He can line up in the slot. He can be the outside receiver. You know, we're going to put him in positions to hopefully be successful. That's a nice little pickup in the second round for Carolina. He's not the guy I'm really excited for, and I'll get to that. Play the film. The next guy on the list that we drafted, Brady Christensen. A lot of O-linemen never get the love. You know, they're not the flashiest people. Fans, we're different, right? We want to see those guys that make the big plays and all that, but they don't make those big plays without these big boys, you know. I love my O-line, and honestly, if it wasn't for them, there would not be a football team. So I appreciate Carolina actually going in and trying to take care of business in the trenches. So if you didn't know, we got Cam Irving from the Dallas Cowboys that we signed. We also got a guy from Minnesota that we signed. Don't remember his name. And then we go and draft this guy. He's 6'5", 302 out of Utah. He ended up going to BYU. He's a big boy. There was a deep class in the trenches, in my opinion. So even though we missed out on a couple guys, I thought we might pull the trigger on instead of J.C. Horn. We ended up getting a pretty solid O-lineman in Brady Christensen, as you guys will see in the film that we're going to watch. The NFL draft grade is a 6.19, and again, if you don't know what that is, it's over here. He'll be a starter within the first 2 seasons, or a good backup to become a starter. He's projected right now to be third string. Okay? Like I said, we have some guys in front of him. He's got to prove himself. He's still a rookie. The one thing that I will say that doesn't make me so excited is that he did play at BYU, and they don't really play that big of competition. At the end of the day, he dominated. He's got a lot of athletic ability. He's big. He's agile. He likes to move. I think he's more consistent in the run game than anything. And obviously he's going to have a lot to work on, especially going up against pass rushers like Myles Garrett or Cam Jordan, those big guys on the edge that can really give you problems out there on the edge. We'll see how good he's going to be, whether he was worth trading up for. Hey, Time will tell. He overextends at times in pass pro. This is just a couple things that I've noticed whenever I was watching this film. Moves his feet very well, but then he overextends. So if the guy's way outside, he'll go and kind of chase him instead of letting him come to him. So the pocket gets like this, and guess what? That's going to open up blitzes for outside linebackers, safety blitzes, all those things he could get taken advantage of. But that comes with coaching too. So his hands are usually wide, which leads to a lot of holding penalties. You want to, as an O-lineman, try to get those hands right up inside those chest plate, right? You want to get away with all the holding that you can. And if you're outside like this, grabbing onto the shoulder pads, it's a lot easier for those refs to see. His hands are wide. He's got to get better at that. But he's a very smart guy. If you watch the film, whenever they're running the ball at any time, he knows who he's getting. He gets on a block. He gets off the block to go to another block. He's a phenomenal athlete, like I was saying. Just the passing game is what I think he struggles with the most. He blocks until the whistle blows, and as you linemen know, you gotta keep going. You don't know what the running back's doing back there. Your last block, because you're blocking to the whistle, spring him for a touchdown. So excited to see this young cat right here. They're actually saying that he could compete for that starting left tackle job. We need to protect our quarterbacks anyway. Sam Darnold, he's gotten his butt kicked in the Jets. Hopefully Carolina can do a little bit and help him out. Let's roll the tape. Next guy I'm going to talk about, we got Tommy Tremble. Tommy Tremble is a tight end out of Notre Dame. He's about 6'3", 241. He's another guy from Georgia. Like I said before, Georgia's got a lot of athletes that come out of there, born and bred to play football, right? What's going on? What are they feeding them boys down there? He is more of a run blocker than he is a pass catcher. They've got him at a grade at 6.32. Which is, again, potential to be a starter, right? And he's actually second string. Right behind, we just signed Dan Arnold, the Cardinals, and we always had the Ian Thomas. And obviously they've got the upper edge just because of veteran leadership and experience in the NFL. This guy brings a lot of talent to the Panthers offense. And if you guys know, traditionally we've always been a run-first offense. And I think we still want to be, right? With Joe Brady, even though he wants to sling the ball around, I still think we need to get the ball in McCaffrey's hand and then put him as fullback. Even though he's listed as a tight end, he has played in fullback, that H-back position where he's off the tackle. He's a smart kid. He can move around, motioned. And then he comes with his hair on fire. Once that ball snapped and you're in his way, he is going to demolish you. He wants to run your ass over, and I love that. He's going to be put against DNs, outside linebackers, big Mike linebackers, and then he's going to have the potential to run away from these guys. This is going to set up great play action for us because every time he's in the game, people are going to expect we're going to run right behind him just because he's that ferocious. Hopefully he can sell that a lot more so it'll open up the play action game for Sam Darnold. Catch it in the flats, you're wide open, boom, we get first downs, we're moving the sticks. If you notice right here, I put holy block as one of my things I was wanting to talk about because whenever you watch this film, he is going to deplete this one kid. And oh man, you love football, you love that kind of stuff. Honestly, I think he could compete for that starting tight end job, or if he lines up as fullback, get that fullback job. Next person we're going to talk about, Chuba Hubbard. If you guys remember 2 years ago, right before COVID all happened, this was a running back that was in the running for Heisman as a junior. He did phenomenal things at Oklahoma State, and then he had some issues with the head coach. We're not going to get into that. He is by far a phenomenal athlete. If you think prime Le'Veon Bell, the patience in the backfield, and then just hitting that one cut and go, that is almost an exact replica, as you'll guys see in this film. I would also compare him to Philip Lindsay too. So when Philip Lindsay kind of had those couple good years, Philip Lindsay's outside kind of guy. Chuba Hubbard, the only difference is that he likes to run between the tackles. Got that breakaway speed. There's a couple where he gets hawked. You already got the first down and all that, all those yards, and he just took it out of bounds. Or that guy was really fast, because this guy, he's pretty fast himself, as you'll see. He's 6 foot, 210. He moves like crazy. He's from Alberta. Okay, went to Oklahoma State. They put him as a ranking at 5.98. Developmental traits, possibly going to be good. And all these are between 5 and 8. And obviously, there's a lot of busts. NFL is just giving you out stats. He is going to be like fourth string. We got a couple guys in front of him, obviously, that's got experience in our offense. He's got a lot to learn. I don't think they run any type of offense that we ran last year at all, but they wanted to run the football, so they were a power team. ISO, a lot of zone. Like I said, he's that one cut back. He's not the guy that's going to dance around you or do anything, but he can deliver a punishing blow too, but he likes to run away from people. Once he sees, he's got good vision. He's physical. Loves between the tackles. Think Bell from Pittsburgh and Philip Lindsay whenever he was busting loose. Let's roll the tape. Next guy we're going to be talking about, Davion Nixon. He is out of Iowa. He's 6'3", 313 pounds. He grew up in Wisconsin and didn't have to go too far. If you guys know, this is Big Ten football, and they have some pretty dang good defenses. Carolina's done a phenomenal job at recruiting D linemen. We got Brian Burns on one side. We got the guy that came out of Arizona that's supposed to be moved back to outside linebacker. We hit a home run with Derek Brown. He wasn't that flashy, but he's a big body, requires double teams all the time. So this Davion Nixon kid, as you guys are going to see, ferocious, and his motor does not stop at all. He was very well coached. He uses his weight to his advantage, and I'm pretty excited to see if he can actually compete for a starting spot. He's second string right now, and the Bravion Roy is the other guy out of Baylor that Matt Rule drafted. This dude's going to be competing for that starting spot, and I think he's got a pretty dang good chance. Just after watching his film, when he gets his hands on you, you're getting tossed. Doesn't matter who you are. He touches you with that frying pan hand, man, and he's got your jersey, most likely going down. He's a high motor guy. He's going to have to require double teams, and if Derek Brown's already requiring those double teams, it's going to open up a lot of one-on-one opportunity for him to get that pass rush, to get that run stop. And like I said, Carolina's always been pretty good at stopping the run. Defensive line is probably one of our strongest points whenever you talk about where we've been the past 5-6 years. Great tackler, very smart. Based on he reads draws, he reads screens. He does a really good job on that. Gets sometimes a little bit too, oh, this was this, and doesn't rush, right? But then he just sits back and then he takes a good angle and he closes the space in between him and the quarterback or running back. He takes really good angles, even if he's not the fastest guy on the field. He still can make up some ground and make sure the cutback lane gets closed. His hands are great. He's always getting the O lineman's hands off you. He's an inside guy, so those guards, centers, they usually obviously double team these types of D tackles, and he's really nice at getting those hands off, getting by, and then just putting constant pressure on the quarterback to make a good decision. We got him late in the round. I think he could be one of those steals on defense. And I'm also biased because I love Carolina. We got Keith Taylor from Washington. For those of you that don't know anything about college football, Washington University is one of the best universities that produce corners. What this guy brings is a lot of physicality. He's listed at 6'2" right here, but 187. So he's got a little light in the shorts. Who's going to come up and make the tackle in the run game to the outside? And he could fit that mold. From the stuff I found from him, he's out of California and he ended up going to Washington, just for those that were interested in that kind of stuff. 5.5 NFL grade. He's projected as a third stringer. He is physical, fast. He's pretty good open field tackler. One problem he does have is not wrapping up. He thinks his big body can go in there and, just make the play like that. And this is the NFL. Is like, you got to wrap up. These wide receivers ain't no joke. Cornerback, University, great pickup. He's highly competitive. He's fast. He's going to give you some effort. One thing that I did notice about him is that he's pretty slow off the line. So if he's up in press coverage on a pretty speedy wideout and he doesn't get his hands on, he's going to get burnt. One wrong step, he is gone. That's TD, boy. So he's got a lot to work on. Hopefully a rookie minicamp does him well and he's got some good competition. I don't see him staying out on the field this year, but who knows? He's a big guy. They like what he does. That's why we drafted him, obviously, and he could go in there and shock everybody and not be considered a 5th round, 6th round draft pick. next guy, Deonte Brown. He played at Alabama, and he's a guard. He is a big motherfucker. Okay, he's 6'3", 344. 344 pounds. So he's actually from Decatur, Alabama, and then he went to school at Alabama. He didn't have to do too much, especially being a guard on the Alabama O-line. He's projected a 6.25, which back up year one, quality starter in the next few years. Hopefully he can get, if there's an injury or anything, he'll be ready to go. But this guy's not moving. I'm just going to be honest with you. He doesn't move that well. So when he does move, you'll see that it's very short spaces. It's the trap, going upfield to the next linebacker. That's it. He ain't going nowhere else. And if somebody gets pressure on him and he gets his hands on, they're most likely not moving either. Okay, that's a big boy trying to get moved right here. And he played at Bama, so you know he's well coached. They do have Najee Harris last year that went to Pittsburgh, number one running back out the board. There's a reason that he was one of those top running backs, and it starts with that O-line. I love getting big boys like this. You don't have an O-line, you ain't nothing. Strong. He'll move the piles. If he gets up in somebody and he's moving them and then somebody else is on there, he'll move them too. Then I put right here in the comments, I was like, uh-oh, for guys that let him have hands on. Because when he gets his hands on you and he falls on you, that ain't going to be good. He's got a lot of competition. Like I said, that Brady Christensen could be moved from left tackle to interior O-line. I think he's that athletic to do that kind of thing. And then we also signed those other two guys in the free agency that he could be competing for the starting job. And we got to protect McCaffrey. We got to protect Darnold. I like these kinds of pigulating around, especially since he went to Bama and he was a starter there. We'll see how he pans out because he does scare me at not being able to move as fast. But hopefully that all changes. Hopefully he drops a few pounds and starts to be able to pull to do all those kick out blocks that require the tosses, the traps, the counters, all that good stuff where you got to get your butt moving. He was at the senior day, and I think that's why Carolina liked him so much, because Matt Rule was the coach for the senior day. He was out there with a bunch of other guys trying to make it to the league, right? And he was out there holding his own, as you guys will see. Let's roll that tape. Next guy that we are going to talk about is a dark horse. This could be Steve Smith's cousin. I don't know, but Shi Smith went to South Carolina. He's only 5'9", 186, but he plays like he's 6'2", man. He goes in high points to football. He has great hands. He's out of Union, South Carolina. Ended up getting a scholarship to South Carolina, which is awesome. It's always good to stay home, and then we kept him home. He ain't playing for the Panthers. He's a 6 overall grade, so he's going to take some developmental years, and he's projected as a 4th stringer. Terrace Marshall, obviously, up there, they like a lot just because he has experience. This guy, I think, is going to shock a lot of people of how his playmaking ability kind of takes over the football game. But he's a playmaker. He's fast. Some of the catches that you guys are going to see are insane. This guy has great ball skills. He understands the game of football. He's just an overall person like McCaffrey that you want to get the ball in the hand so they can go make something happen. Pretty excited to have him if he can go out there and compete at day one. He's going to be on the butt end of things just because we do have a pretty full receiver room. But, man, I really hope this guy ends up being what he shows on film, because he instantaneously replaces Curtis Samuel. So if you guys watched all the film last year, Curtis Samuel was a pretty good dark horse for us. We lined him up as running back, we lined him up as slot, we lined him up outside. He had his speed, he took advantage of it. But this guy, I think, replaces Curtis Samuel and actually does a lot better. Roll the tape. only 2 more guys, which we do not have film on, but Thomas Fletcher is a long snapper out of Arizona. He ended up going to Alabama as well. There's not a lot of film on there because what do you got to do? All you got to do is snap the ball to the guy catching it, right? The punter, the field goal holder. We got J.J. Hansen that has been with us for a while. I think we just signed him again. But this is a good, nice little replacement that's going to be cheap for us. J.J. might see his way out, just depending on how good this guy actually is. Wasting a draft pick on a long snapper, not really one of my favorite things to do, but hey, what do I know? I'm not in Matt Rule's head. I'm not in the GM's head. We're going to see what he does. He's 6'1", 235. Probably can go down there and be a special teams player for us. Okay, he's 5.46, which doesn't mean too much. He's projected the second stringer because you only have one of those long snappers really on the team. And then in the notes over here, I said, sorry, we're not watching film on a long snapper. But everybody, meet the 6th round draft pick, Thomas Fletcher from Alabama. All right, so this last dude that we ended up drafting, okay, and this is going to be the end of the video, is Phil Hoskins. He's a D tackle out of Kentucky. He came from Ohio and ended up getting a scholarship to go to Kentucky. He's a big boy, 6'5", 313 pounds. Okay, he's only got a 5.69 draft grade. He's projected to be 4th string as a D tackle. As you guys know, we picked up Davion Nixon from Iowa, so he's probably going to be getting a lot more favorable things. This is a practice squad guy. He's got a lot to do in order to be better, but Kentucky's defense was decent, and he was a big reason why in the middle. Do I think he goes into the league and does it? Not really. I think he's a practice squad guy. He's going to be somebody that gives us good look. Might possibly end up being on the roster just because of injuries. If injuries happen, please don't happen to us. Not this year. This is our year. Couldn't find that many highlights on him. If you go to YouTube and search him up, there's not too much. There's a bunch of talk shows, people talking about him, but there's no actual evidence of him doing everything unless you have access to all the Kentucky's film. But he's durable. He played all 11 games, didn't really get hurt. We'll see what he can do in a crowded defensive line room that Carolina has. And that is going to be it for the Panthers. Hope you guys did enjoy this. As much as I did, this is the first time that I'm ever going to be doing this kind of thing, but I do love football and I want to get into the fantasy aspect. If you notice that the blue things right here, those are all fantasy prospects that could potentially be something for you guys that are in dynasty leagues or things like that. So I've got this whole list of teams that I've got right here. Green Bay, Atlanta. We're going to focus on the NFC South and NFC North the next couple weeks, and we'll see what happens. Hope you guys have a great day. Rumblycheetah out.